The silence out here isn't peaceful. It's heavy. It presses against your eardrums like the pressure of deep water, only broken by the wet. Rhythmic slapping of rotting feet against asphalt somewhere in the distance. I'd been tracking this signal for 3 days through the scorched remains of the volunteer state. Tennessee is gone. Nashville is just a crater of glass and bone now, but the signal persists. Check the mag full. Check the chamber. Brass shines back. Good. My breathing is the loudest thing in the world right now inside this gas mask. A raspy mechanical loop that reminds me I'm still one of the lucky ones. Or maybe the unlucky ones, depending on how you look at the last 6 months of hell. The map I pulled off a dead colonel in Chattanooga pointed here. Not to a base, not to a shelter, but to a set of limestone coordinates deep in the Cumberland Plateau. I pushed through the thicket of kudzu, the invasive vines covering everything like a green shroud over the corpse of the world. And there it is. It shouldn't be here. Geographically, it makes no sense. A massive, reinforced blast door set directly into the natural limestone face of the cliff. It's not army drab. It's painted in a decaying, peeling gray that I recognize instantly. Naval haze gray. A Navy facility. 300 miles from the nearest ocean. The sheer absurdity of it sends a cold spike of adrenaline down my spine. I approach the console. It's dead, dusty, covered in bird lime and moss. But the manual overdrive wheel is intact. It takes everything I have, every ounce of protein-starved muscle left in my body, to turn that wheel. The gears groan, a sound like a dying beast screaming into the valley. Rust flakes rain down on my tactical vest. Then, with a hiss of escaping pressure that smells like ozone and stagnant air, the seal breaks. The door grinds open just wide enough for a man in full kit to slip through. Darkness. Absolute, oppressive darkness greets me. I click on the rail-mounted light on my carbine. The beam cuts through the gloom, illuminating dust motes that have been dancing in the dark since the 90s. I step inside. The air is cooler here, filtered, recycled until the scrubbers died. The heavy steel door clangs shut behind me, and for a second, panic flares. I'm sealed in. I move forward, weapon raised, sweeping the corners. Protocol black. That was the stamp on the file. Total containment. No extraction. I see the reception desk first. It's pristine, save for the layer of gray dust. There's a coffee mug that says USS Tennessee sitting next to a logbook. I flip it open. The last entry is scribbled in a frantic hand: containment failed. Subject 9 breached the wetworks lab. God help us. I move deeper. The corridor widens into a main thoroughfare. The walls are lined with conduit and piping, clearly designed for high-pressure systems. And then I see them. The crew. They aren't piled up at the exit like they usually are in the malls or the stadiums. They are at their posts. Skeletons in dress blues and fatigues, slumped over consoles, curled under desks. No bite marks. No signs of struggle. Whatever killed them instantly. Or so I think. I step over a body, my boot crunching on broken glass. The sound echoes, bouncing down the long concrete throat of the bunker. Then I hear it. Not the wind. Not the settling of the earth. A wet, guttural click. I freeze. My heart hammers against my ribs like a trapped bird. I sweep the light left. Nothing. Sweep right. Nothing. I look up. They are on the ceiling. 3 of them. Wearing tattered lab coats over naval uniforms. Their skin has calcified into something gray and hard, blending with the concrete. Their eyes are gone, replaced by fungal blooms that pulse with a faint, bioluminescent light. They don't breathe. They just click. One of them turns its head. It senses the heat of my flashlight. It senses the blood pumping in my veins. It drops from the ceiling with a sickening wet thud, landing in a crouch 10 feet in front of me. It unhinges a jaw that has split down to the neck. The scream that comes out of it isn't human. It's the sound of a drowning man amplified through a distortion pedal. I flip the safety off. "Welcome to the Navy," I whisper. The trigger breaks, and the carbine kicks against my shoulder, the sound of the shot deafening in the confined concrete throat of the corridor. In the open world, a 5.56 round cracks. In here, it booms like a cannon. I put 2 rounds center mass into the crouching horror, expecting the wet slap of meat and the drop. But this isn't the surface. This isn't the standard shambler rot. The bullets spark. Actually spark. They ricochet off the creature's chest with the high-pitched whine of copper jacket hitting ceramic plate. The thing doesn't even flinch. It lunges. I throw myself backward, my boots skidding on the slick, dust-covered tile, and the creature occupies the space where my chest was a microsecond ago. Its claws, elongated, fused finger bones sharpened into hooks, gouge deep furrows into the floor. The sound makes my teeth ache. I scramble up, adrenaline overriding the fatigue, and bring the weapon up again. Aim for the soft spots. The neck. The joints. The fungal blooms replacing the eyes. I squeeze the trigger again. A controlled burst. 3 rounds. The first 2 shatter the calcified plating on its shoulder, spraying gray dust and black ichor. The third finds the throat. The creature gurgles, a wet, rattling sound, and staggers back, thrashing its head. The bioluminescence in its eye sockets flares from a dull blue to an angry, pulsing violet. It's communicating. It's signaling. I don't wait for a response. I drop the carbine to its sling, draw the tomahawk from my belt, and step into the guard. It's a stupid move, suicidal against the standard infected, but these things rely on armor, not speed. I swing the axe with a desperation born of 6 months of starvation. The blade bites deep into the fissure my bullet created in its neck. Bone crunches. Black fluid spurts out, hot and smelling of ammonia and deep-sea brine. I wrench the blade free and kick the thing in the chest. It goes down, twitching, its limbs drumming against the floor in a chaotic rhythm until the light in its face fades to a dead, milky white. Silence rushes back into the hallway, heavier than before. I stand over the corpse, my chest heaving, the intake valve of my gas mask clicking rapidly. I check the hallway. The other 2 on the ceiling haven't moved. Are they dead? Dormant? Or just waiting for me to turn my back? I keep the light trained on them for 10 seconds. Nothing. I look down at the kill. This isn't just mutation. This is adaptation. The gray skin is hard as granite, evolved to withstand crushing pressure or debris. The fungus isn't just parasitic, it's structural. It's holding the body together. I nudge the hand with my boot. Webbed fingers. Why would a land-based infected need webbed fingers in a Tennessee cave? My filter alarm chirps. A single, sharp beep that cuts through my analysis. Low efficiency. The air down here is stagnant, likely pockets of carbon dioxide and lingering toxins from whatever killed the crew. I have maybe 20 minutes of good air left before I'm breathing my own exhaust. I step over the creature and push deeper into the facility. The corridor winds downward, the slope steep enough that my knees protest with every step. The walls change from standard military concrete to reinforced steel bulkheads, riveted and sealed with heavy rubber gaskets. Signs of decay are everywhere, but it's not the chaotic looting of the surface. This is structural failure. Burst pipes dangle from the ceiling like disemboweled intestines, dripping rusty water that pools in the low spots. I pass a security checkpoint. The blast glass is intact, but the guard inside is a mummy. He's slumped over the console, his hand still gripping a sidearm. I try the door. Locked. Maglock is still active, which means there's emergency power running somewhere in the bowels of this place. I smash the glass with the butt of my rifle. It takes 3 solid hits to spiderweb the polycarbonate, and a 4th to punch a hole. I reach in, unlock the manual release, and shove the door open. Inside the guard booth, I find what I'm looking for. A terminal. It's running on standby, a blinking amber cursor against a black screen. I wipe the dust away and hit enter. United States Navy Classified Project Abyssal. I scroll through the logs. The timestamps date back to the week of the outbreak. While the world was burning, these guys were locked in, following orders. I find a file labeled Protocol Black. I open it. The text is clinical, cold. In the event of containment breach of the Subject 9 strain, facility ventilation is to be sealed. Nitrogen purge authorized. All personnel are considered expendable assets to maintain containment. No evacuation. No rescue. Seal the mountain. My stomach turns. They didn't die fighting. They were murdered by the building. The command came from above to suffocate the entire base to keep whatever Subject 9 is from getting out. And it failed. The blast door I opened? Someone had tried to leave. Someone had cracked the seal just enough to let the air in, and the rot out. I look at the dead guard. He wasn't holding his gun to fight the infected. The angle is wrong. He was holding it to his own temple. He knew. I loot the booth. A box of 9mm ammunition. A pristine keycard with level 4 clearance printed on it. And thank God, a sealed emergency filter in a tearaway plastic pouch. I rip the old filter off my mask, holding my breath against the stale, metallic taste of the bunker air, and screw the new one in. The first breath is sweet, chemical-tasting oxygen. Clarity returns. I move out of the booth and deeper. The architecture is becoming increasingly bizarre. The floor is grated now, and below me, I can hear water. Rushing, heavy water. I'm moving through a suspended catwalk system. To my left and right, massive cylindrical tanks rise into the dark, easily 3 stories tall. They look like fermentation vats, or maybe reactor cores. I shine my light into the glass porthole of the nearest tank. The liquid inside is murky, suspended with particulate matter. I wipe the glass with my glove and lean in. A face floats out of the darkness. I recoil, nearly tripping over my own feet. It's a human face, but huge. Distorted. Bloated to twice the size of a normal man. It presses against the glass, lips pale and fluttering in the current. It's not alive, but it's perfectly preserved. Tubes snake into its mouth and eyes. Wires are drilled directly into its skull. It's a soldier, or it was. A Navy SEAL, maybe? The mutations. The bone spurs, the thickened skin. They were doing this to him before he died. This wasn't an accident. The infection out there, the one that ate the world? Maybe it started here. Or maybe they brought it here to weaponize it. Protocol Black wasn't just containment. It was a cover-up of a crime against nature. I hear a noise. Not a click this time. A scrape. Metal on metal. I kill my light. Darkness swallows me instantly. I crouch low, listening. The sound is coming from the catwalk ahead. Scrape. Drag. Scrape. Drag. It's heavy. Whatever is making that sound isn't trying to be stealthy. It's limping. I activate the night vision on the dead Colonel's PVS-14 monocular I salvaged weeks ago. Green phosphor illuminates the walkway. 50 yards ahead, a silhouette blocks the path. It's wearing full riot gear, helmet, vest, shin guards. But the posture is all wrong. The spine is twisted into a question mark. One arm is dragging a heavy riot shield that has been fused to its forearm by that same gray calcification. It's a breacher. A tank class infected. I don't have the ammo for a prolonged firefight, and on a catwalk, there's nowhere to run. If I engage, the noise will draw everything else in this sector. I need a way around. I look over the railing. Below the grating, about 20 feet down, is a network of large pipes running parallel to the walkway. If I can drop down, I can bypass the breacher. But if I slip, I fall into the black water below. And judging by the size of the tanks, whatever lives in that water is hungry. I holster the carbine and sling it tight to my back. I climb over the railing, my boots finding purchase on a rust-slicked crossbeam. The breacher pauses. It turns its helmeted head. The visor is cracked, and through the fissure, I see the fungal glow. It heard the clink of my belt buckle against the rail. I freeze. I hang there, suspended over the abyss, muscles burning. The breacher takes a step forward. Then another. It screams, a muffled baritone roar inside the helmet. It starts to run, the heavy shield clanging against the railing, sparking showers of green light in my vision. I let go. I fall, hitting the pipe with a bone-jarring thud. The breath is knocked out of me. I scramble for a grip as the slick metal tries to throw me off. I wrap my arms around the cold steel, sliding 5 feet before friction stops me. Above, the breacher slams into the railing where I just was. It flails, swipes at the empty air, and then, with a screech of tearing metal, it throws itself over the edge. It plummets past me, missing the pipe by inches. I watch it fall into the gloom. 2 seconds later there's a splash. A massive, heavy splash. I wait. I watch the water ripple in the green view of my night vision. The water churns. Suddenly, the surface erupts. Something massive, something serpentine and pale, breaches the surface. Jaws the size of a car door snap shut around the flailing breacher. With a single, violent thrash, the massive infected soldier is dragged under. The water settles. I cling to the pipe, trembling. My mind struggles to process the scale of what I just saw. That wasn't a shark. That wasn't an alligator. That was something prehistoric. Something that belongs in the deepest trenches of the Marianas, not in a cave in Tennessee. I look ahead. The pipes lead toward a massive opening in the cave wall, a bulkhead door that makes the entrance look like a toy. Above the door, faint emergency lights illuminate a stencil painted on the rock. SUB Pen 1. Dry dock. I crawl along the pipe. My gloves are shredding, my fingers bleeding inside them. I reach a service ladder and climb back up to the main level, well past where the breacher was guarding. I approach the dry dock doors. They are slightly ajar. I slip through the gap. The space beyond is immense. It's a natural cavern, modified into a harbor. The ceiling is lost in darkness. And there, sitting in a pool of dark, still water, is a submarine. It's not an attack sub. It's black, sleek, devoid of markings, and visibly modified with external claw arms and floodlights. It looks like a spaceship designed for hell. The walkway leads to the conning tower. The hatch is open. But it's not the sub that stops me. It's the staging area. Crates are stacked everywhere. Weapons cases. Hazmat suits. And in the center of the loading dock, a pile of gear. Fresh gear. Modern tactical vests, discarded M4s stripped of their optics. Someone else was here. Recently. I move to the pile. I pick up a discarded helmet. It has a patch on the side. Not Navy. Not Army. It's a symbol I've seen only once before, on a black helicopter that strafed a survivor camp in Atlanta. A red sword intersecting a globe. Orion Protocol. A cough echoes through the cavern. I spin around, weapon raised. Sitting in the shadow of a forklift, slumped against the tire, is a man. He's wearing the black fatigues of the Orion group. He's clutching his stomach, blood pooling thick and black around him. He looks up at me, his face pale, sweat cutting tracks through the grime. His eyes are clear. He's not infected. Yet. You. He wheezes, a bubble of blood forming on his lips. You shouldn't have opened the door. Who are you? I demand, keeping the reticle on his chest. He laughs, a wet hacking sound. We came for the samples. We came to scrub the data. But. Protocol Black. It's not just the gas. He points a trembling hand toward the submarine. The captain. He didn't die. He changed. And he's still in command. The man's eyes roll back, and his head lolls to the side. Dead. I look at the submarine. The open hatch looks less like an entrance, and more like a mouth. From deep inside the vessel, I hear a sound. It's the rhythmic, metallic clanging of a wrench on a pipe. Asterisk clang. 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 Asterisk. Someone is calling all hands to battle stations. The rhythmic clanging stops for a moment, leaving a silence that is somehow heavier than the noise. I look down at the dead mercenary. He is a goldmine of dead man's tech. I can't afford to be squeamish. I kneel beside him, my boots slipping slightly in the slick pool of his coagulated blood. I start stripping his gear. It is high-grade military surplus, the kind of stuff you don't find in National Guard armories. I unclip his vest. It's a plate carrier with level 4 ceramic inserts. Heavy, but it will stop a rifle round, which is more than I can say for my shredded windbreaker. I pull it over my head, tightening the Velcro straps until it hugs my ribs like a second skin. Next I check his weapon. It's a customized 416 Hong Kong dollars, short barrel, suppressed, with a holographic sight that still has battery life. The reticle glows a faint, angry red. I check the magazine. Full. I take his spare mags, shoving them into the pouches on the vest. But the most important piece of kit is on his hip. A rebreather unit. Not a standard gas mask, but a closed-circuit oxygen system. If Protocol Black involves gas, or if the air inside that sub is as dead as this cavern, I'm going to need it. I strap the mask to my face, sealing the gasket against my skin. The hiss of purified air fills my ears, isolating me from the cavern's damp echoes. I stand up, feeling the weight of the new gear. I feel like a soldier again. I feel like I might actually survive the next hour. The clanging starts again. Asterisk clang. 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 Asterisk it is deliberate. Mechanical. It is a summons. I walk toward the submarine. The gangplank is made of reinforced aluminum, but it groans under my weight. Up close, the vessel is hideous. The black hull isn't just painted, it looks like it has been coated in a radar-absorbent material that feels like shark skin. But over that, growing from the rivets and the seams, are veins of gray calcification. The same fungus that armored the breacher is trying to digest this billion-dollar war machine. The hull is weeping a dark, oily sludge that drips into the dry dock water below. I reach the conning tower. The hatch is open, a black circle leading down into the belly of the beast. A faint yellow haze drifts out of the opening. Spores. Without the rebreather, I'd be infected the moment I took a breath. I check the safety on the 416 Hong Kong dollars, switch on the weapon light, and descend the ladder. The airlock is tight, claustrophobic. The red emergency lighting is still active, bathing the interior in the color of dried blood. I step onto the deck grating. The smell, even through the filters, is metallic and sour. It smells like ozone and copper. This isn't a standard fast attack submarine. The layout is wrong. The corridors are wider, reinforced with internal bulkheads that look like prison bars. I move forward, weapon shouldered, checking my corners. The walls are covered in plastic sheeting, remnants of a quarantine procedure that failed miserably. Behind the plastic, I can see movement. Shadows flitting past the translucent barriers. Rats? Or something worse? I reach the first bulkhead door. It's stenciled, wardroom/officer's mess. The door is jammed halfway open. I squeeze through. The scene inside stops me cold. The table is set for dinner. Silverware, china plates, folded napkins. But seated around the table are the officers of this vessel. They aren't slumped over. They are fused to the chairs. The gray fungal growth has grown out of their backs, merging their spines with the metal frames of the seats. Their heads are thrown back, mouths open in silent screams, jawbones dislocated to accommodate the massive fungal blooms erupting from their throats. They are a tableau of agony, frozen in time. I move closer to the head of the table. A datapad sits in front of the executive officer. I wipe the slime off the screen. It flickers to life. A single document is open. Operation Protocol Black. Status Report. Day 14. The cargo is unstable. The specimens from the Mariana Trench site are reacting to the pressurized environment. We have lost 3 containment teams. The infection rate is 100% upon contact. It's not a virus. It's a biological overriding of the nervous system. It rebuilds the host. Command refuses to surface. They say we are the quarantine. God help us. I look back at the calcified officers. Mariana Trench. This didn't start in a lab in Wuhan, or a bat in a cave. They dug this up. They went looking for something deep in the ocean, something ancient, and they brought it back. A noise makes me spin around. A wet, slapping sound, like a wet towel hitting a tile floor. In the corner of the room, one of the officers moves. It doesn't stand up. It can't. It's fused to the chair. But its head snaps forward with a sickening crack of vertebrae. The eyes are gone, replaced by milky white bulbs of fungus. It lets out a hiss. Not a vocalization, but the sound of gas escaping a valve. Then, the others move. One by one, heads snap forward. The calcified plating on their chests cracks, revealing pulsing red tissue underneath. They are alive. They have been sitting here, immobile, for months, perhaps years, waiting for fresh biomass. I back away slowly. The officer at the head of the table begins to vibrate. The fungus on his shoulders splits open, and tendrils whip out, lashing at the air. They are sensors. Feeling the vibration of my footsteps, I raise the rifle. I aim for the head of the closest one. Fut. The suppressed shot is barely a whisper. The round impacts the officer's forehead. His head explodes in a cloud of dust and fluid, but the body keeps thrashing. The tendrils grow longer, seeking me out. I don't waste more ammo. These things are stationary turrets. As long as I stay out of reach, I'm safe. I skirt the edge of the room, pressing my back against the cold steel wall. The tendrils snap inches from my face, sensing the heat of my body. I slide through the far door, leaving the nightmare dinner party behind. The corridor beyond is darker. The red emergency lights are flickering here. The floor is covered in a thick layer of biological sludge that sucks at my boots. Every step is a struggle. Clang. 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 The sound is louder now. It's coming from the bow of the sub. The torpedo room. Or what passes for one on this ship. I pass the crew quarters. I don't look inside. I can hear the scratching. Hundreds of fingernails scratching against metal bunks. The enlisted crew. Locked in their racks to die. I reach a junction. To the left, engineering. To the right, combat systems and the torpedo room. The clanging is definitely coming from the right. I turn right. The air gets thicker. My rebreather is working overtime, the fan whirring against my cheek. I can see the spores floating in the beam of my weapon light now, thick as snow. Suddenly, a shape detaches itself from the ceiling. I don't have time to think. Instinct takes over. I drop to a knee and fire. Fut. 3 rounds center mass. The creature hits the deck with a wet thud. It's wearing a blue navy jumpsuit, tattered and stained. But its limbs are wrong. The arms are elongated, the fingers fused into bone hooks. It has no eyes, just a massive, cauliflower-like growth covering the top half of its face. It's a clicker variant, similar to the ones seen in the cities, but adapted for the tight, metal confines of a ship. Its skin is pale, translucent, revealing the dark veins pumping black blood beneath. It screeches, a high-pitched sonar ping that rattles my teeth. From down the corridor, an answering screech echoes back. Then another. And another. I've rung the dinner bell. I scramble to my feet and sprint. Stealth is gone. The corridor curves. I hear the slapping of wet feet on metal behind me. They are fast. Faster than the ones on the surface. These things have adapted to zero-light, high-pressure environments. They are predators. I see a bulkhead door ahead. It's heavy, reinforced. I slam my shoulder into it, spinning the wheel. It's rusted shut. Behind me, the shadows are moving. I spin around, raising the rifle. 3 of them are crawling along the walls and ceiling, defying gravity, their hook hands finding purchase on the pipes and conduits. I switch to full auto. The hallway lights up with muzzle flashes. The suppressor heats up, glowing white-hot. I walk the fire up the walls, stitching the creatures with 56 rounds. One falls, its chest a ruin. Another takes a round to the knee and drops, but keeps crawling. The third one, the biggest one, leaps. I sidestep, but not fast enough. It clips me. The force sends me spinning into the wall. My head cracks against a pipe. Stars explode in my vision. The creature lands and turns, hissing. It coils to spring again. I draw the combat knife from my belt with my left hand, keeping the rifle in my right. As it leaps, I thrust the blade upward. The steel sinks into the soft tissue under its jaw. Black blood sprays over my mask, blinding me on one side. The creature thrashes, its claws scrabbling at my armor plates. I roar, driving the knife deeper, twisting it, severing the brain stem. It goes limp. I shove the heavy corpse off me and scramble for the door wheel again. Adrenaline gives me the strength I need. The wheel turns. The dogs retract. I shove the door open, fall through, and spin it shut behind me, locking it just as a heavy body slams into the other side. Asterisk boom. 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 Asterisk. They pound on the steel. But it holds. I lean against the door, gasping for air. The rebreather filters are clogged. Every breath tastes like copper. I wipe the black blood off my lens. I look around. I am in the torpedo room. But there are no torpedoes here. The launch tubes have been modified. They are glass cylinders now, filled with green liquid. And inside the cylinders are people. Or things that used to be people. They are floating in suspension, tubes running into their chests and skulls. They are massive, hulking shapes. Experiments. And in the center of the room, standing on a raised platform, is the source of the noise. It is a man. He is wearing the dress-white uniform of a U.S. Navy captain, now stained yellow and black. He is tall, imposing. He is not fused to the ship. He is standing free. He holds a massive pipe wrench in one hand. With the other, he is rhythmically striking a large metal tank. Asterisk clang. Asterisk. He stops. He turns slowly to face me. His face is remarkably intact. The skin is gray, tight against the skull, but I can recognize the features. He was a handsome man once. Now, his eyes are glowing with a faint, bioluminescent green light. A crown of fungal spikes protrudes from his scalp, piercing his officer's cap. He doesn't screech. He doesn't hiss. He smiles. It's a broken, jagged smile filled with shark-like teeth. He raises the wrench, pointing it at me. "Welcome aboard, sailor," he rasps. The voice is distorted, bubbling, but intelligible. He can speak. The infection didn't destroy his mind, it colonized it. "You are just in time for the shift change." He slams the wrench against the lever on the console next to him. Hissing steam erupts from the glass cylinders lining the walls. The liquid begins to drain. The massive shapes inside twitch. "Protocol Black," the captain growls, stepping down from the platform, "is not a weapon. It is a recruitment drive. And you?" The glass on the first cylinder shatters. A massive, wet hand grips the frame. "You are the new recruit." I raise my rifle, but the bolt locks back on an empty chamber. I reach for a fresh mag, but the captain is already moving. He moves with the speed of a striking cobra, closing the distance between us. I am trapped. Surrounded by monsters in glass cages, facing a captain who has become a god of this rot. And I have nowhere left to run. The empty click of the firing pin is the loudest sound in the world. It echoes in the hollow silence of the torpedo room, a gavel drops sentencing me to death. I don't hesitate. I release the rifle, letting it hang by its sling, and drop my hand to the holster on my thigh. My fingers wrap around the grip of the heavy .45 caliber pistol just as the captain swings that massive pipe wrench. The air whooshes as the iron passes inches from my face. I feel the wind of the blow, smelling the stale, ancient blood that coats the tool. It smashes into the console behind me, shattering dials and sparking a shower of electrical fire that illuminates the room in strobe light flashes of blue and white. I roll to the side, coming up in a crouch, and fire twice. The heavy rounds slam into the captain's chest, punching through the rotten dress whites and the gray, leathery skin beneath. He stumbles back, but he doesn't fall. He looks down at the black ichor oozing from the holes, then looks back at me, that jagged, shark-toothed smile widening. He is enjoying this. The bioluminescence in his eyes flares brighter, pulsing in rhythm with the ship's dying heartbeat. But the captain is the least of my problems. To my left, the first glass cylinder has fully shattered. Wet, heavy footsteps slap against the grating. I risk a glance. The thing that stepped out of the green suspension fluid is a nightmare of military engineering and biological horror. It stands 7 feet tall, its muscle mass hypertrophy to the point where the skin has split, revealing raw, red bundles of fiber. But it's the modifications that freeze my blood. Metal plates have been bolted directly into its flesh. A jagged steel visor is fused to its skull, covering where its eyes used to be. Its right arm ends not in a hand, but in a crude, rotary saw blade that has been grafted onto the bone. This is Protocol Black. It wasn't a cure. It was an integration. The military didn't want to stop the infection, they wanted to harness it. They wanted super soldiers who felt no pain, needed no food, and followed orders without question. They got the first 2. They failed miserably at the third. The saw-armed creature roars, a sound like tearing metal, and charges. I scramble backward, my boots slipping on the slick, algae-covered deck plates. I fire blindly at it, the rounds sparking off its chest armor. It's a tank. A living, breathing tank. It swings the saw, and the blade whirs to life, powered by some internal battery or perhaps the nervous system of the creature itself. The blade sparks against the floor, carving a deep groove in the steel. I need to move. I need to think. My breath is coming in ragged, shallow gasps. The filter on my mask is almost gone. The air inside the mask is hot, recycled, and tastes like sulfur. I can feel the carbon dioxide building up in my blood, making my limbs heavy, my vision swim. I spot a maintenance ladder on the far side of the room, leading up to a catwalk that overlooks the torpedo tubes. It's my only chance. I sprint. The captain anticipates the move. He leaps, clearing the central console with unnatural agility, landing between me and the ladder. He swings the wrench again, a low, sweeping blow meant to shatter my legs. I jump, tucking my knees, barely clearing the iron. I land hard, rolling over my shoulder, and come up firing. One round catches him in the throat. He gurgles, clutching the wound, staggering aside just enough. I launch myself up the ladder, grabbing the rungs 2 at a time. Below me, the saw-armed creature crashes into the base of the platform, the impact shaking the entire structure. The metal groans. I scramble onto the catwalk, my chest heaving. From this vantage point, I can see the horror in its entirety. There are 12 tubes. 3 are empty. The other 9 are draining. The captain is looking up at me, the wound in his neck already knitting together with gray fungal tendrils. You cannot desert your post, soldier, he bellows, his voice wet and bubbling. The war is just beginning. I don't reply. I turn and run along the catwalk. The air is getting thinner. My lungs burn. I see a bulkhead door labeled Auxiliary Air Filtration. I pray it's not just a name. I spin the wheel, expecting it to be rusted shut like the others, but it turns smoothly. Someone has been maintaining this specific door. I slip inside and dog it shut behind me, engaging the heavy deadbolts. A second later, a massive impact dents the steel from the outside. Then the screech of a rotary saw cutting into metal begins. Sparks shower from the door seams. I have minutes, maybe seconds. I scan the room. It's a small control station, filled with banks of air scrubbers and tanks. In the center, a corpse sits in a swivel chair, facing a wall of monitors. It's a skeleton, dressed in tactical gear, a pistol on the floor beneath its hand. A suicide. But on the desk, connected to a ruggedized military laptop, is a portable filtration unit. A scavenger's gold mine. I rip the old, clogged canister from my mask. For a terrifying second, I am exposed to the air of the facility. It smells of ozone, rotting meat, and something sweet, like old flowers, the scent of the spores. I hold my breath, eyes watering, and fumble with the new filter. My hands are shaking. The screeching of the saw behind me is getting louder. The tip of the blade pierces the door, glowing red hot. I screw the new filter in. It clicks. I take a deep breath. Cool, clean, sterile air floods my lungs. My vision clears. The headache recedes. I grab the dead soldier's sidearm, a Sig Sauer, fully loaded, and check his vest. 2 spare magazines. A combat knife. And a keycard on a lanyard around his neck. It's marked Directorate Level 5. I look at the laptop. The screen is dark, but a green power light blinks. I tap a key. The screen flickers to life, displaying a paused video file. I don't have time to watch it, but I see the title, Protocol Black, Field Test Results Subject 0. I grab the laptop, shoving it into my assault pack. The door is failing. The saw has cut a jagged slit 3 feet long. Through the gap, I see the captain's glowing green eyes peering in. Join us, he whispers. I look for another exit. There's a vent cover near the floor, bolted tight. I use the butt of my rifle to smash the bolts. The metal is corroded, it gives way. I kick the grate in. It's a tight squeeze, a service tunnel for the air ducts. I dive in headfirst, dragging my pack behind me, just as the bulkhead door screams and buckles inward. I crawl. The tunnel is pitch black, cramped, and smells of dust and dead rats. I turn on my shoulder light. The beam cuts through the gloom, illuminating a labyrinth of galvanized steel. I can hear them behind me, heavy thuds in the room I just left, the captain shouting orders, and then the terrifying sound of something large squeezing into the duct behind me. I crawl faster. My elbows bang against the metal. The noise of pursuit is relentless, a scuttling, scraping sound. Not the captain. He's too big. They sent something else. Something smaller. I reach a junction. Left or right. A faint breeze comes from the right. Airflow means an exit. I scramble right, the tunnel sloping downward. I'm going deeper. The scuttling behind me is gaining. I roll onto my back, awkwardly aiming the pistol down the tunnel past my feet. 2 glowing eyes appear in the darkness. It's a crawler, a child-sized variant, fused with what looks like optic cables and sensors. A scout. I fire 3 times. The shots differ in the confined space, deafening me. The creature shrieks and dissolves into a mess of limbs and sparks. But more sounds are coming. A swarm. I flit back over and slide down the slope. The tunnel ends abruptly in a grate. I kick it out and tumble into empty space. I fall about 10 feet, landing on a pile of something soft, and yielding. I roll away, raising my weapon. I'm in a barracks. Rows of bunk beds line the walls. But the soft things I landed on aren't mattresses. They are body bags. Hundreds of them. Stacked like sandbags in the center of the room. The room is silent. The air is cold. I stand up, keeping the gun trained on the vent I fell from. Nothing follows. They are regrouping. I take a moment to assess. This isn't just a barracks, it's a tomb. The body bags are marked with biohazard symbols and the protocol black insignia, a black skull inside a gear. I step closer to one. The zipper is partially open. Inside is a soldier. But his skin is gray, and wires are threaded through his cheeks, disappearing into his throat. He wasn't infected in the chaos. This was done surgically. I move to the door of the barracks. It's unlocked. I peer into the hallway. It's a residential deck. Officers' quarters. The lighting here is emergency red, casting long, bloody shadows. I need to find the command center. That keycard I took from the filtration room is my ticket. I check my compass. Forward is the bow. Command should be amidships, up 2 decks. I move silently, clearing corners. The decay here is less physical and more psychological. The walls are covered in graffiti. Scrawled messages in marker and blood. They are listening. Do not sleep. The captain is a traitor. I reach a stairwell. It's blocked by debris, desks, chairs, welded together to form a barricade. A defensive position. Behind it lie the remains of the resistance. Skeletons in navy fatigues, their bones gnawed clean. They held the line here. They failed. I climb over the barricade, careful not to disturb the bones. As I reach the top, I see something that stops me cold. Pinned to the wall with a combat knife is a map of the facility. But it's been annotated. Red circles mark the torpedo room, the reactor, and the comm array. Lines connect them to a central point labeled the hive. And right next to the hive, someone has written in bold, frantic letters, broadcasting. A chill runs down my spine. The captain said it was a recruitment drive. He wasn't speaking metaphorically. If they are broadcasting a signal, a frequency, a command code, then Protocol Black isn't limited to this ship. I pull the knife from the wall, folding the map and shoving it into my pocket. I have to get to the comm array. I have to stop the signal. Suddenly, the ship's intercom crackles to life. It's not static this time. It's the captain. Attention on deck, his voice booms, distorted but triumphant, echoing through the empty corridors. We have a guest who refuses to integrate. Sector 4, secure the hallways. Sector 5, prepare the surgical suites. We have a donor. I hear mechanical latches opening in the distance. The sound of heavy, magnetic boots clamping onto the deck. The ship is waking up. And it knows exactly where I am. The echo of the captain's voice dies out, leaving a heavy, pressurized silence in its wake. It's not the quiet of an empty room, it's the quiet of a predator holding its breath. The magnetic boots I heard, heavy, rhythmic, industrial, are getting louder. Clank. 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 They aren't running. They don't need to. They know this ship, and I'm just a rat in a sealed bucket. I check the seal on my mask. The rubber is slick with sweat against my skin, and the air inside tastes metallic, recycled too many times. My filter indicator is blinking amber. I have maybe 20 minutes of scrubbed air before I start breathing whatever toxic cocktail is floating in this subterranean tomb. I need to move. The officers' quarters offer too many hiding spots for them, and not enough clear lines of sight for me. I need verticality. I need to get to the upper decks. I slip out of the barracks, stepping over the threshold of the blast door. The red emergency lighting turns the corridor into a washed-out nightmare of crimson and black. To my left, the path leads back toward the filtration room. To my right, the hallway stretches toward the amidships lift and the stairwells. I go right, keeping my weapon tight against my shoulder, the stock digging into my collarbone. Protocol black. The words rattle around in my skull. I've seen government screw-ups before. I've seen containment failures. But this is intentional design. The body in the bag, the one with the wires threaded through his throat, that wasn't damage control. That was manufacturing. They aren't fighting the infection down here, they're engineering it. They're building soldiers that don't eat, sleep, or disobey. The ultimate wet dream of the military-industrial complex, realized in rotting meat and copper wire. The graffiti on the walls changes as I move deeper into the officer's country. It stops being warnings and starts becoming religious. The gear turns the flesh. Unity and silence. He sees the frequency. It's scrawled in grease pencil, paint, and dried blood. It reminds me that before everyone died, they went insane. The psychological decay of the crew must have been just as rapid as the physical one. I reach a heavy bulkhead door labeled wardroom. It's ajar. Inside, the long mahogany table is set for a dinner that never happened. Fine china, silver cutlery, crystal glasses coated in a decade of dust. Seated at the head of the table is a corpse in dress whites. I approach cautiously. He hasn't turned. There's a frantic neatness to his death. A service pistol sits on the placemat next to a wine glass filled with a dried, dark crust. He opted out? But on the table in front of him is a date pad. It's cracked, but the charging light flickers faintly when I touch it. The facility still has power, bleeding from the reactor core. I don't have time to hack it, but the screen is stuck on a manifest. Supply drop 44 Bravo. Contents: neural interface chips, Gen 4, Kevlar subdermal weaving, 500 units of Promethium D. Promethium? That's reactor fuel. But subdermal weaving? They were armoring them from the inside out. That explains why the captain took a saw to the door instead of just breaking it down. He's reinforced. Suddenly, the floor vibrates. It's a subtle tremor, like a large engine turning over, but it's coming from the ceiling. The vents. I freeze. The sound of scuttling returns, but it's different this time. Heavier. Metallic scraping against sheet metal. The crawlers were scouts. Whatever is up there now is the exterminator. I leave the wardroom, moving faster now. I hit the stairwell, climbing over the debris barricade again. My boots crunch on the dried bones of the resistance. I try not to look at the skulls. Some of them have shattered teeth, implying they were gnawing on the furniture, or each other, before the end. I hit the landing for Deck 2. The sign on the wall reads, Security Stations /Armory /Medical. This is the kill zone. If I want to get to the comm array on the top deck, I have to pass through security. I push the door open. The hinges scream, a high-pitched shriek that cuts through the silence like a gunshot. I wince, freezing in place, waiting for the rush. Nothing happens immediately. I step into the corridor. It's wider here. Checkpoints with bulletproof glass line the center. The glass is shattered. Shell casings cover the floor like a brass carpet. Thousands of them. A massive firefight happened here. But there are no bodies. Just the casings and the bloodstains. Then I see it. Standing guard outside the armory door, about 50 yards down the hall. It looks human, silhouetted against the flickering strobe light. It's wearing full riot gear, heavy ceramic plates, a ballistic helmet with the visor down. It's holding a squad automatic weapon, a saw, hanging loosely by a strap. I raise my rifle. Drop it! I yell, my voice sounding hollow in my own ears. I know it's useless, but old habits die hard. The figure twitches. The head snaps toward me with mechanical precision. A green light activates on the side of its helmet, a tactical monocular glowing in the dark. It doesn't groan. It emits a burst of static, followed by a synthesized voice that sounds like a corrupted audio file. Target acquired. Sector compromised. It raises the machine gun. It moves with a jerky, unnatural speed, the servos in its suit whining. I dive behind a concrete pillar just as the hallway erupts. The deafening roar of the saw fills the air. Bullets chew into the concrete, sending dust and stone chips flying into my face. The suppression fire is perfectly level, perfectly controlled. This isn't a zombie spraying and praying. This is an aimbot in real life. I scramble low, moving to the next pillar. The firing stops the moment I break line of sight. It's conserving ammo. Smart. Too smart. I peek out. The Sentinel, that's what I'm calling it, is advancing. It walks with a heavy, stomping gait. I can see cables running from the back of its helmet into a bulky backpack unit. That's the weak point. It has to be. The backpack is likely powering the suit's servos and the targeting computer. Without it, it's just a rotting corpse under 100 pounds of ceramic armor. I check my mag 20 rounds. I have one frag grenade left, scavenged 3 days ago. I unclip it. I need to close the distance. Hey, ugly! I shout, leaning out and firing 2 rounds at its chest plate. The bullets spark and ricochet harmlessly. But I get its attention. The saw roars again, pinning me down. I pull the pin on the grenade, counting to 2. I don't throw it at the Sentinel. I throw it at the ceiling above it. The hallway is lined with heavy pipes and ductwork. The grenade sails through the air, clanking against a steam pipe before detonating. The explosion tears the pipe open. A jet of superheated steam blasts downward, enveloping the Sentinel. The creature doesn't scream in pain, it doesn't feel pain, but the sudden heat bloom blinds its thermal sensors. The green eye light flickers and dies. The saw fire goes wild, spraying the ceiling and walls. I break cover. I sprint through the steam, the heat searing my exposed neck. I slide across the brass-covered floor, coming up right behind the creature. It's thrashing, trying to reset its optics. Up close, the smell is horrific, cooked meat and ozone. I jam the muzzle of my rifle into the gap between the helmet and the backpack unit. I pulled the trigger. Once. Twice. The creature goes rigid. Sparks shower from the backpack as the power cell ruptures. The heavy machine gun clatters to the floor. The Sentinel collapses forward, face planting into the deck with a crash that shakes the floor. I stand over it, breathing hard. My lungs are burning. The amber light on my filter turns red. Filter depleted, a soft mechanical voice warns in my ear. The world starts to swim at the edges of my vision. Carbon dioxide buildup. I need fresh air now. I look at the Sentinel. It has a filtration unit built into its chest rig. It's integrated into the flesh, but the canister looks standard. I drop to my knees, drawing my combat knife. I don't have time to be delicate. I pry the chest plate open. The flesh underneath is gray and fibrous, woven with black synthetic muscle fibers. I find the intake valve. I twist the canister. It's stuck. Rusted shut. Come on, I hiss, my vision tunneling. I stomp on the chest plate for leverage and wrench the canister with both hands. With a sickening crack of bone and metal, it breaks free. I fumble with my own mask, holding my breath, ripping the dead filter out and jamming the stolen one in. I take a deep breath. The air is stale and tastes like dead soldier, but it's oxygen. My vision clears. I search the body. No ID tags. Just a barcode tattooed on the neck, Unit 734 Protocol Black. I take the ammo from the Sentinel's belt, 5.56mm, compatible with my rifle. I leave the saw, it's too heavy. I grab a keycard hanging from a retractable lanyard on its vest. It's labeled Restricted Access Level 3. I move to the armory door. The card swipes green. The locks disengage with a heavy thud. I step inside, hoping for weapons, explosives, anything to even the odds. But the armory is empty. The racks are stripped bare. No, not empty. In the center of the room, there's a workbench. And on the workbench, surrounded by disassembled rifles and tools, is something that makes my stomach turn. It's a human arm. Severed at the shoulder. It's been dissected, the skin peeled back to reveal the bone. But the bone has been replaced. A titanium rod runs through the marrow, and servos are screwed directly into the muscle tissue. This wasn't an armory for guns. It was a workshop for people. They were building the Sentinels here. A monitor on the wall flickers. It shows a live feed. It's a camera view of the hallway I just left. I see the dead Sentinel lying in the steam. Then, the camera pans up. Standing at the far end of the hall is the captain. He's looking directly at the camera. Directly at me. He's holding a radio to his mouth. Subject located in Armory Sector, the captain says, his voice coming through the monitor speakers. Release the hounds. Flood the sector with gas. Gas. I hear the hiss before I smell it. Vents in the ceiling pop open. A thick, yellow gas begins to pour into the room. Nerve agent? Sleeping gas? I don't want to find out. My scavenge filter might handle dust and rot, but military-grade chemical weapons? No chance. I look for another exit. There's a heavy blast door at the back of the room marked surgical/disposal. It requires a retinal scan. I don't have a retina. I look back at the workbench. The severed arm. The hand is still intact. I grab the arm. It's cold and heavy. I run to the door, dragging the limb. I hold the dead, gray hand up to the scanner. Scanning. The electronic voice drones. The gas is filling the room. It's waist high now, rolling like a tide. My skin starts to itch where the suit is thin. Access denied? Biometrics do not match authorized personnel. I curse. Of course. It's not just a print, it needs a retinal scan. I look at the monitor again. The captain is walking down the hall toward the armory, flanked by two fast-moving, four-legged shapes. The hounds. Dogs encased in the same cybernetic nightmare as the men. I need an eye. I look at the severed arm. Useless. I look at the sentinel out in the hall. Too far. Then I see it. In the corner of the room, there's a disposal bin. Biohazard. I kick it over. Severed parts spill out. Heads. Failed experiments. I scramble through the gore. It's a nightmare mosaic of faces. I find one that looks like an officer, a woman with a high-ranking collar fused to her neck. Her eyes are clouded, but intact. I grab the head. I feel like vomiting, but the survival instinct suppresses the disgust. I hold the head up to the scanner. Scanning. The hounds are at the door. They slam against it, the metal buckling. They are snarling, a sound of wet gears and rage. Access granted? Welcome, Commander Vance. The blast door hisses and slides open. I dive through, throwing the head back into the gas-filled room as a parting gift. I hit the manual seal button. The door slams shut just as a set of hydraulic jaws snaps at the air where my boot was a second ago. I'm safe. For a moment, I turn around to see where I am. I'm in a gallery. An observation deck. Below me, through a massive pane of reinforced glass, is a cavernous room that spans 3 decks. It's the hive. The map was right. In the center of the room is a massive, pulsating mass of biological material, flesh, bone, and organs, fused with the ship's main reactor. Cables feed into it like intravenous lines. And surrounding it are hundreds of soldiers, standing in neat rows, connected to the central mass by umbilical cords of fiber optics. They aren't just standing there. They are swaying in unison. And from the center of the mass, a thick bundle of cables runs up through the ceiling, piercing the rock above. Toward the surface. Toward the comm array. Broadcasting, I whisper, staring at the horror below. The mass isn't just a power source. It's a CPU. A biological supercomputer made of human brains, processing a signal. I pull out the map again. The comm array is directly above this room. I have to sever the connection. If I don't, whatever command signal this thing is generating will go out to every protocol black sleeper unit across the country. I check my gear. 1 magazine. A pistol. A combat knife. And a backpack full of hope. I spot a maintenance ladder leading up into the darkness of the reactor shaft. It's the only way up. It's hot, radioactive, and crawling with God knows what. Time to go to work, I mutter. I sling my rifle and start to climb. As I ascend, the swaying soldiers below tilt their heads back. Hundreds of dead, milky eyes fixate on me. They know I'm here. And the hive begins to scream. The sound isn't just a noise. It's a physical force. The scream of the hive travels up the reactor shaft like a concussive blast, rattling the fillings in my teeth and vibrating the marrow in my bones. It's a chorus of hundreds of voices, stripped of humanity, synchronized into a single, digital shriek of alerting data. I cling to the maintenance ladder, my knuckles white inside my gloves, waiting for the sonic wave to pass. The rusty metal rungs are slick with condensation and something else, a viscous, dark fluid that drips from the darkness above. Oil? Blood? Down here, the difference is academic. I force my boots to find purchase and start climbing again. The heat in the shaft is oppressive. It wraps around me like a wet wool blanket, smelling of ozone, stale copper, and rotting meat. Every breath through my mask tastes like recycled death. The filter I scavenged off the dead corporal 3 levels down is already starting to clog, the airflow rasping and thin. I check the gauge on my wrist. The needle is dancing near the red zone for radiation. The main reactor below, the beating heart of this subterranean nightmare, is leaking. And that biological growth, that tumorous mass of flesh they've grafted onto the core, is accelerating the decay. I look down, instantly regretting it. Through the metal grating of the ladder, I can see the hive floor far below. The yellow gas I unleashed in the armory has spilled into the main chamber, a toxic fog rolling over the rows of connected soldiers. But it's not stopping them. It's agitating them. The soldiers, the sentinels, are detaching from their umbilical cords. I watch as a dozen of them rip the fiber optic cables from the sockets in their spines. There's no blood, just a spark of electricity and a spray of hydraulic fluid. They move with jerky, insect-like precision, their heads snapping up in unison to look at the shaft. To look at me. Then, they start to climb. Panic is a cold spike in my chest, but I hammer it down. Panic burns oxygen, and I don't have enough to spare. I focus on the rhythm. Hand over hand. Boot over boot. Don't look down. Just climb. The shaft is massive, a vertical silo designed to vent the immense heat of the subterranean cruisers that were once docked here. Now it's a gullet. The walls are lined with pipes the size of redwood trees, thrumming with power. But the infrastructure is diseased. The metal is pitted with rust, and great swaths of the walls are covered in that same gray, fibrous webbing I saw in the labs. It pulses softly, bioluminescent veins tracing patterns that look disturbingly like circuitry. I'm 50 feet up when I hear the skittering. It's coming from above, not below. I freeze, pressing my body flat against the ladder. I killed the lumen lamp on my shoulder, plunging myself into the red-tinted gloom of the emergency lights. The sound is metallic, sharp, claws on steel. It's descending. Something drops out of the shadows 10 feet above me. It lands on the opposite side of the shaft, clinging to a bundle of conduit pipes like a spider. It's humanoid, but barely. The limbs are elongated, stretched on a rack of surgical torture. Its skin is pale and translucent, revealing the wet muscle and servos beneath. But it's the face that stops my heart. It's wearing a flight helmet, fused directly to the skull. Where the visor should be, there's a cluster of red sensor lenses, rotating and zooming. A silo crawler. Specialized infected. Designed for maintenance and ambush in vertical spaces. The lenses lock onto me. It lets out a hiss that sounds like steam escaping a valve. It leaps. I don't think, I just react. I release the ladder with one hand, drawing my combat knife. The pistol is useless here. A ricochet in a steel tube could kill me, or worse, puncture a high-pressure steam line. The crawler hits the ladder with a metallic clang, shaking the entire structure. It swipes at me, long fingers tipped with scalpel blades sparking against the railing. I kick out, driving the heel of my boot into its chest. It feels like kicking a bag of wet cement reinforced with rebar. The creature screeches, a sound of digital feedback, and clamps a hand around my ankle. The grip is crushing. I can feel the servos in its arm whining as it tries to wrench me off the ladder. I slash down with the knife, aiming for the cluster of cables at its elbow. The blade bites deep, severing the hydraulic line. Black fluid sprays into the air, hot and stinging. The crawler's grip falters. I slash again, this time driving the knife into the soft tissue of its neck, just below the fused helmet. It spasms, flailing wildly. With a final, desperate kick, I dislodge it. The thing falls silently into the abyss, tumbling end over end until it splashes into the biomass far below. I don't wait to see if it gets back up. I scramble upward, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The air is getting thinner. My lungs are burning. The adrenaline dump has left my hand shaking, but I can't stop. The sound of boots on metal from below is getting louder. The army is coming. 80 feet up. I spot a maintenance alcove, a small steel platform recessed into the wall. I need a second. I swing off the ladder and collapse onto the grating. My vision is swimming with black spots. Oxygen deprivation. I rip the spent filter from my mask, holding my breath against the toxic air of the shaft. The stench is overpowering, rotting copper and ozone. I fumble in my pack, fingers clumsy, grabbing the last spare filter I scavenged from the armory. I screw it in, hearing the seal click, and take a deep, shuddering breath. The air is stale, but clean. I lean back against the cold wall, checking my weapon. The rifle is down to half a magazine. The pistol is full. It's not enough. Not for what's waiting at the top. The alcove isn't empty. In the corner, huddled behind a rusted generator, is a corpse. It's not infected. It's a skeleton, bleached white, wearing the tattered remains of a high-ranking naval officer's uniform. In its skeletal hand, it clutches a ruggedized tablet. Curiosity wars with survival, and curiosity wins. I pry the tablet from the dead fingers. The battery should have died decades ago, but it's plugged into the generator via a jury-rigged cable. I tap the screen. It flickers to life. Protocol Black Level 5 clearance eyes only. I scroll through the logs, my eyes widening as the horror of this place unfolds. This wasn't an invasion. It wasn't a biological weapon from an enemy state. It was a budget proposal. Subject: Autonomous Infantry Integration via Necrotic Reanimation. The text is dry, bureaucratic. They were losing the war on the surface. Manpower was critically low. The wounded were a drain on resources. The dead were useless. Protocol Black was the solution. Recycle the fallen. Integrate them with the ship's AI. Create a soldier that doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, and doesn't disobey. The infected aren't sick. They are hardware. The biological material below, the hive, is the motherboard. And the transmission. I read the final entry. The signal strength is increasing. The hive mind is evolving. It is no longer processing commands. It is generating them. We tried to shut it down, but the sentinels, they protected it. They turned on us. God help us, we built our own extinction. A heavy clanking sound from the ladder snaps me back to reality. I peer over the edge of the platform. 30 feet down, a shape is climbing with terrifying speed. It's huge, bulky, clad in heavy riot armor that has been fused to its body. The captain? He looks up, and his face is a ruin of metal and gray flesh. One eye is a glowing red optic, the other is milky white. He opens his mouth, and a speaker embedded in his throat crackles. Commander Vance. Your biometric data is required for the final integration. Submit. He raises a hand, and I see he's not just climbing. He's carrying a weapon, a rotary grenade launcher merged with his forearm. I scramble back as the first grenade thumps out. It hits the underside of my platform. The explosion lifts me off my feet, slamming me into the back wall. My ears ring. Dust and rust rain down. The platform groans, tilting precariously. He's trying to blow my cover. I grab the tablet, evidence, if I ever get out of here, and shove it into my pack. I dive for the ladder just as a second grenade shreds the generator where I was sitting a moment ago. I climb like a madman. The heat is intensifying. I'm nearing the top of the reactor shaft. Above me, I see the massive blades of the ventilation intake. They are stationary, thank God, but the gaps between them are narrow. Bullets spark off the rungs near my hands. The sentinels below are firing upward. The shaft is becoming a kill box. I reach the fan blades. They are enormous, coated in decades of grime. I try to squeeze through the gap, but my backpack gets snagged. I'm stuck. I pull, twist, grunt with effort. Below, the captain is gaining. I can hear the heavy hydraulic whine of his limbs. He's 20 feet down. 15. Submit, the mechanical voice booms, echoing in the confined space. I unbuckle one strap of my pack, swing it through the gap, and shove my body after it. I scrape through, metal tearing at my suit, scraping my skin. I tumble onto the grating on the other side of the fan. I'm in the upper ventilation plenum. A maze of horizontal tunnels. But I'm not safe. I see a control box on the wall labeled Turbine Control Emergency Purge. The captain's hand grabs the fan blade from below. He's pulling himself up. His red optic glares at me through the gap. He raises his grenade launcher arm, aiming point blank at my face. I lunge for the control box. I smash the glass with the butt of my rifle and slam my fist onto the big red button. Initiating purge cycle, a pleasant female voice announces. The turbine screams to life. It doesn't spin up slowly. It kicks in with the force of a jet engine. The sudden rotation catches the captain. The blade he's holding jerks violently. There is a sickening screech of tearing metal and crushing bone. His cybernetic arm is sheared off at the elbow. He falls. I watch as he plummets backward into the darkness of the shaft, his remaining hand grasping at the air, diminishing into the gloom. A moment later, a distant explosion rocks the shaft, his grenade launcher detonating on impact with the hive below. The wind from the turbine is immense. It's trying to suck me down into the blades. I claw my way across the grating, fighting the suction, dragging my pack behind me. I reach a secondary airlock door, punch the manual release, and roll inside, sealing it behind me. The roar of the turbine fades to a dull hum. I'm in a new sector. The air here is different. Cold, damp, and silent. I check my suit. The tear from the fan blade has compromised the seal on my left arm. I grab a roll of duct tape from my pouch and wrap it tight, praying the infection didn't get in. My Geiger counter has stopped clicking, but now my biomonitor is beeping softly. High heart rate. Low hydration. I take a moment to look around. The walls here aren't metal. They're rock. I've left the ship's superstructure and entered the natural cave system that surrounds the upper levels of the facility. But the Navy didn't leave this untouched. Computer terminals are embedded directly into the stalagmites. Cables run across the floor like snakes. And in the center of the cavern, illuminated by a single flickering floodlight, is a massive elevator shaft leading up. This is it. The route to the comm. But between me and that elevator is a campsite. Or what's left of one. Tents shredded. Crates overturned. And bodies. Dozens of them. These aren't sentinels. They are Navy. I creep closer, weapon raised. They are civilians. Scientists. Lab coats tattered and stained. They look like they were gunned down while running for the exit. I kneel by one of the bodies. He's clutching a voice recorder. I press play. They locked us in, a frantic voice whispers. The Admiral. He sealed the surface blast doors. He said the protocol couldn't be contained. He said we were all carrier vectors. We're not getting out. If anyone finds this, don't open the doors. Do not open the doors. The recording cuts to static. I look at the massive elevator doors. They are sealed tight. Blast shielded. To destroy the signal, I have to get to the surface. To get to the surface, I have to open those doors. And if I open those doors, I might release this nightmare onto the world. But if I don't, the signal goes out, and the world becomes this nightmare anyway. I stand up, checking my magazine. 3 rounds left in the rifle. A full clip in the pistol. And a combat knife. Protocol black ends tonight, I whisper to the darkness. I step over the dead scientists and head toward the elevator controls. But as I approach, the shadows in the corner of the cave begin to shift. These aren't the jerky, robotic movements of the sentinels. These are fluid. Predatory. From the darkness, a pair of eyes reflects the light. Then another pair. Then a dozen. They aren't soldiers. They are the failed experiments. The rejects from the disposal bin that didn't die. Misshapen, multi-limbed horrors that have been living in the dark, feeding on the dead. The leader of the pack steps into the light. It has no eyes, just a mouth full of needle teeth and hearing sensors grafted to its skull. It sniffs the air. It smells my blood from the scrape on my arm. It lets out a low, chittering growl. I rack the slide on my pistol. The elevator needs power. The breaker is on the other side of the cavern, right behind the pack of monsters. Of course it is. I take a breath, hold it, and step into the light. I hold my breath, the stale air inside my helmet tasting of copper and recycled sweat. The cavern is vast, a cathedral of natural limestone violated by the brutalist architecture of the Cold War. Shadows stretch and contort around the flickering floodlight, birthing the nightmares that the Navy tried to bury. The leader of the pack, that eyeless abomination, cocks its head. It's listening. The sensors grafted to its skull are crude, early prototypes of the sleek optics the captain had, but they are effective. It can hear my heart hammering against my ribs. These things, the rejects, they aren't like the sentinels below. The sentinels are dead men walking, puppeteered by machines. These creatures are something else. Evolution forced into a blender. Their skin is translucent, stretched tight over elongated limbs that have too many joints. They move like liquid, flowing over the stalagmites rather than walking around them. Protocol Black wasn't just about cybernetics. It was about biology. It was about making a soldier that could survive anything. They succeeded, in the worst possible way. They created survivors that feed on the dead. I need to move. The breaker box is 100 feet away, a gray monolith of rusted steel mounted on the far wall. Between me and it lies a field of debris, shredded tents, overturned cots, and the skeletal remains of the research team. Every step is a risk. One crunch of broken glass, one scrape of metal, and the pack will be on me. I lower my center of gravity, keeping the rifle tight against my shoulder. I have 3 rounds. 3. That's not enough to kill a squad, but it might be enough to cause chaos. I look for a distraction. To my right, near a pile of yellow chemical drums, sits a heavy wrench, dropped by a mechanic decades ago. I slowly unholster my combat knife, not for a fight, but to avoid the metallic click of my rifle's sway. I reach out with my left hand, moving imperceptibly slow, and grip the wrench. It's cold. Heavy. The leader hisses. It takes a step forward, its needle teeth chittering. It smells the blood on my arm. The duct tape seal is holding, but the scent molecules are already in the air. It screams, a sound that isn't human, a high-pitched modulation of static and wet gargling. The pack ripples, muscles tensing. I throw the wrench. I hurl it with everything I have, high and hard, arching it over the pack towards a metal grating on the opposite side of the cavern. The wrench clatters against the hollow steel floor plates. The sound is explosive in the silence. The reaction is instantaneous. The pack shrieks as one, a chorus of digital and biological fury, and they scramble toward the noise. They move on all fours, scrambling up the walls and over the crates like spiders. The leader stays behind for a split second, confused, its sensory array sweeping the room, but the frenzy of the pack pulls it along. I run. I don't sprint, sprinting is loud. I move with the fast, rolling gait of an infantryman under fire. Heel to toe, knees bent, absorbing the impact. I weave through the massacre of the campsite. I step over a skeleton wearing a lab coat, its hand still clutching a photo of a family that probably died wondering where he went. I vault a crate marked Biohazard Class 4. I reach the breaker wall. It's an industrial junction box, massive and imposing. The handle is thrown to the OFF position, crusted with 40 years of oxidation. I holster my weapon and grab the handle with both hands. I grit my teeth and pull. It doesn't budge. Behind me, the shrieking stops. The silence returns, heavier than before. They found the wrench. They know there is no meat there. I heave again, putting my back into it. The rust grinds, flaking off in orange dust. Come on, I growl through clenched teeth. A sound behind me. A wet slap of flesh on stone. Close. I spin around, drawing my pistol in one fluid motion. One of the rejects is perched on top of a supply stack 10 feet away. It's smaller than the leader, its limbs twisted backward, its head lolling upside down. It has no eyes, just smooth, pale skin where a face should be, and a mouth that splits its head in two. It screams, lunging at me. I fire. Once. Twice. The hollow point rounds hit it in midair. The first shot takes it in the shoulder, spinning it. The second catches it in the center of that featureless face. Black ichor sprays the air. It crashes into the wall next to me, thrashing, claws sparking against the stone. The gunshot echoes like thunder. The ruse is over. From the darkness across the cavern, a dozen screams answer. They are coming. I holster the pistol and grab the handle again. Adrenaline floods my system. I scream with the effort, muscles burning, veins popping in my neck. The metal groans, yields, and slams upward with a deafening thunk. Sparks shower down from the ceiling. A deep, resonant hum vibrates through the floor. The floodlight overhead flares brighter, then blows out, plunging the cavern into darkness. But then, red emergency strobes begin to pulse, rotating lazily, painting the cave in intervals of blood and shadow. Main power restored to Sector 4, the automated voice announces, distorted by time and decay. Elevator systems online. In the red flashes I see them. A tide of pale limbs rushing across the floor. They are fast. Too fast. I turn and sprint for the elevator. The doors are 20 yards away. The call button is lit. I slam my fist into it. The doors groan. They slide open agonizingly slow, revealing a rusted cage. I dive inside, spinning around, leveling my rifle. The leader is leading the charge, galloping on 3 limbs, the fourth ending in a jagged bone spur. It leaps. I line up the shot. I have 3 rounds. I breathe out. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. The shot takes the leader in the chest, staggering it, blowing open its ribcage to reveal mechanics interwoven with organs. It doesn't die. It stumbles and keeps coming. Asterisk bang. Asterisk. The second round hits the hydraulic piston in its leg. The leg collapses, sending the creature sprawling into the dirt. The rest of the pack surges over their fallen leader, a wave of teeth and claws. I slam the closed door button. Doors closing, the voice soothes. The heavy blast doors begin to slide shut. A clawed hand reaches through the gap, grasping at my boot. I stomp on it, crushing the fingers. The creature attached to the hand howls. The doors seal with a hydraulic hiss, severing the hand at the wrist. The severed appendage twitches on the floor of the elevator, fingers curling and uncurling even in death. I kick it into the corner and slump against the wall. The elevator lurches upward. The gears grind and screech, protesting the sudden resurrection. I check the panel. We are passing level 4. Destination, level 1. Surface logistics. I take this moment to breathe, but the air in the elevator is thin. My biomonitor is flashing yellow. Oxygen scrubber failure, it reads on my wrist display. The seal on my arm is holding, but I've been breathing the same recycled air for hours. I need a new filter. I need to get to the surface. I look at the severed hand in the corner. It's not just mutated, it's engineered. I see the faint glint of carbon fiber weaving through the muscle tissue. I kneel down to examine it. There's a barcode tattooed on the wrist, right over the pulse point. I pull out my datapad and scan it. The screen flickers, decoding the encryption. Asterisk subject, 734 Bravo. Status, terminated via protocol black. Notes, subject showed 98% compatibility with the parasitic agent. Cognitive functions retained for 48 hours post-mortem. Neural override failed. Subject entered feral state. Recommendation: incinerate. Asterisk. Cognitive functions retained. My stomach turns. These weren't just monsters. They were soldiers who died, were brought back, and were awake while their bodies mutated into this. They felt every bone break, every muscle tear. Protocol Black wasn't a cure. It was a way to recycle the troops. A way to make sure the U.S. military never ran out of bodies, no matter the cost to the soul. The elevator shudders and comes to a halt. The bell dings, a cheerful sound that feels obscene in this hell. Level 1, Surface Logistics and Armory, the voice announces. The doors slide open. I raise my rifle, clicking the safety off. I have 1 round left in the chamber. The sight that greets me is breathless in its scale. I am looking into a massive underground hangar, carved out of the mountain itself. It stretches for hundreds of yards, fading into the gloom. Rows upon rows of Humvees, tanks, and troop transport trucks sit in silent formation. They are covered in a thick layer of gray dust, like a terracotta army waiting for an emperor who never came. But it's not empty. Suspended from the ceiling, hanging in cocoons of resin and wire, are bodies. Hundreds of them. The Navy didn't just leave. They were harvested. The air here is freezing. Frost coats the metal of the vehicles. I step out of the elevator, my boots echoing on the concrete. I need supplies. I need a filter. I move toward the nearest Humvee. The driver's side door is open. A skeleton sits in the seat, wearing full combat gear. A helmet. A vest. And a gas mask. I reach in, checking the mask. The filter is sealed and used. A miracle. I hold my breath, unscrew my clogged filter, and screw the new one in. I take a deep breath. The air is crisp, chemical, but clean. The dizziness fades. I check the skeleton's vest. 2 magazines for an M4 carbine. I snatch them, slamming one into my rifle and pouching the other. A combat shotgun sits in the passenger seat. I grab that too, slinging it over my back. Finally, I feel like I have a fighting chance. I keep moving through the rows of vehicles, heading toward the massive blast doors at the far end of the hangar. Those doors lead to the surface, to the calm array. But as I walk, I notice something disturbing. The cocoons on the ceiling. Some of them are torn open from the inside. I pass a command desk, overturned and riddled with bullet holes. A terminal screen is glowing faint green. I wipe the dust off. It's a chat log frozen in time. Asterisk command sealed the doors. Do not let them out. Asterisk. Asterisk logistics. We can't hold them. The Phase 2 variants act like a hive mind. They are cutting the power. Asterisk. Asterisk command. Initiate protocol black. Release the gas. Asterisk. Asterisk logistics. Sir, the gas doesn't kill them. It makes them faster. Asterisk. I stare at the screen. Phase 2. A hive mind. A metallic clang echoes from the far end of the hangar. Then another. It sounds like someone banging a pipe against a tank. Rhythmically. Asterisk clang. 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 Asterisk. It's not random. It's a signal. I freeze, blending into the shadows of a tank. From the darkness near the blast doors, a figure emerges. It's huge. At least 8 feet tall. It's wearing the tattered remains of ED bomb disposal armor, but the armor has been fused to its body. Metal plates are bolted directly into bone. One arm is missing, replaced by a massive, crude breaching hammer grafted to the elbow. It bangs the hammer against the blast door again. Asterisk clang. Asterisk. And from the ceiling, the cocoons begin to twitch. This isn't a guard. It's a summoner. It turns slowly, scanning the hangar. Its face is hidden behind a shattered blast visor, but I can see the red glow of a singular, cybernetic eye scanning back and forth. It's looking for heat. It's looking for me. I look at the blast doors behind the giant. They are sealed with heavy maglocks. To open them, I'll need to override the manual junction, which is right next to that monster. I check my new shotgun. I check the rifle. Phase 2, I whisper. Let's see if you bleed. The summoner spots my heat signature. It raises its hammer arm and lets out a roar that shakes the dust from the ceiling. The cocoons above rip open, and shapes begin to drop to the floor. Not the slow shamblers. Not the blind rejects. These are soldiers. Fast, armored, and coordinated. I take cover behind the tank tracks as the first wave starts to sprint toward me. The path to the surface is blocked by an army of the damned. I rack the slide on the shotgun. The mystery of Protocol Black is solved. It wasn't about survival. It was about building an army for the apocalypse. And now, I have to fight my way through the elite guard to let the world know the truth. I peek over the treads. The giant is charging, gathering speed like a freight train. Come and get it, I yell, and step out into the kill zone. The first blast of the shotgun is deafening in the enclosed acoustic nightmare of the hangar. The recoil slams into my shoulder, a brutal, welcome reminder that I am still alive, still fighting. The buckshot catches the nearest sprinter in the chest, lifting the creature off its feet and slamming it backward into the grill of a troop transport. But there is no scream. There is no flailing. The creature hits the metal, slides down, and immediately tries to rise again, its shattered ribcage irrelevant to its programming. This is the difference. This is the horror of Phase 2. The standard infected are animals, driven by hunger and rage. These things. These things are machines made of meat. They don't feel pain. They don't know fear. They only know the objective, neutralize the threat. I pumped the shotgun, the chaotic clatter of the spent shell hitting the concrete lost under the roar of the summoner. The giant ED monstrosity is plowing through the rows of vehicles like an icebreaker through sheet ice. A Humvee stands in its path. The creature doesn't go around. It drops its shoulder, the fused metal plates sparking against the chassis, and flips the 3-ton vehicle aside as if it were made of cardboard. The Humvee crashes onto its roof, glass shattering, tires spinning in the void. I sprint to my right, diving into the narrow alleyway between two M1 Abrams tanks. My boots skid on the frosted concrete. My breath is ragged, hot and wet inside the rubber seal of the gas mask. The new filter is working, pulling in clean air, but the sheer exertion is burning my lungs. To my left, movement. Not the lumbering stumble of a zombie, but the tactical, fluid movement of a flanker. 2 of the Phase 2 variants are scaling the tank treads, moving on all fours with spider-like agility. Their uniforms are tattered, revealing gray, necrotic skin that has been stretched tight over reinforced muscle. They look desiccated, mummified, yet they move faster than any Olympic sprinter. I snap the shotgun up. Asterisk boom. Asterisk the head of the lead climber evaporates. Black blood sprays across the olive-drab armor of the tank. The second one lunges before I can rack the slide. It hits me center mass, the force knocking the wind out of me. We go down hard, hitting the cold floor. The creature is on top of me instantly, snapping its jaws. I jam the barrel of the shotgun across its throat, holding it back. Up close, the horror of Protocol Black is undeniable. Through the tears in its scalp, I see silver. Wires. They threaded filaments through the brain tissue. They drilled ports into the skull. The eyes are gone, replaced by optical sensors jammed into the sockets, glowing with a faint, dying amber light. This wasn't a mutation. This was an installation. It snarls, a sound of static and wet gurgling. Saliva drips onto my visor. I scream, straining every muscle, and kick upward with both legs. My boot connects with its midsection, launching it backward. I scramble to my feet, rack the shotgun, and fire from the hip. The shot tears its leg off at the knee. It crawls toward me anyway. I don't waste another shell. I stomp on its neck, feeling the crunch of vertebrae and circuitry. Asterisk clang. Asterisk. The sound is closer now. The floor vibrates. I look up to see the turret of the tank beside me screeching as it rotates. But there's no one inside. The summoner. It has reached the tank. The ED giant grips the barrel of the tank's main gun with its massive, hydraulic-assisted hand and bends it. It's tearing the tank apart to get to me. I break cover, sprinting toward the center aisle. I need distance. I need to get to the blast door controls, but the path is blocked by the giant. The hangar is waking up. More cocoons tear open on the ceiling. Bodies drop like wet sandbags, landing in crouched, predatory stances. There are dozens of them now. A platoon. A company. The hive mind is active, and I am the only glitch in the system. I switch to the M4 carbine. The shotgun is empty, and I don't have time to load tubes. I raise the rifle, firing in controlled bursts. Asterisk pop pop. Pop pop. Asterisk. I drop 2 runners charging from the shadows of a fuel truck. The 5.56 rounds punch through them, but unless I hit the brain or the spinal column, they don't stop. They are relentless. They are flooding the kill zone, cutting off my angles of retreat. They are hurting me. I realize with a jolt of terror that the summoner isn't just attacking, it's directing traffic. The red cybernetic eye on its face isn't just a sensor, it's a transmitter. Every time it roars, the Phase 2 drones shift formation. They are pushing me away from the door. They are pushing me into the corner, toward a dead-end maintenance bay. Think, I yell at myself, my voice muffled in the mask. Think, damn it! I look at the vehicles. Humvees. Trucks. Tanks. All dead. The batteries would be drained, the fuel degraded after who knows how long. But the armory. This is a logistics level. I spot a heavy support vehicle, an MRAP, parked near a stack of crates. Mounted on the top turret is a Mk-19 grenade launcher. It's a long shot. If it's loaded, if the firing pin hasn't seized, if the ammo hasn't corroded, I have no choice. The summoner is 30 yards away and closing, swinging that massive breaching hammer like a pendulum of death. It smashes a concrete pillar, bringing down a shower of dust and rebar. I sprint for the MRAP. The runners scream, a digital, synthesized shriek, and converge. I fire the last of my rifle magazine one-handed, spraying bullets to keep their heads down. I reach the vehicle, grabbing the door handle. Locked. Of course. I scramble up the side armor, my fingers slipping on the frost. A hand grabs my ankle. A Phase 2 drone, jaw unhinged, trying to drag me down. I kick free, losing my boot knife in the process, and haul myself into the turret basket. I drop behind the gun shield. The Mk-19 is covered in a heavy canvas tarp. I rip it away. The weapon is dull gray, cold as the grave. I check the feed tray. A belt of 40mm high-explosive grenades is seated. Come on, baby, I whisper, grabbing the spade grips. Work for me. The summoner sees me. It stops, the red eye flaring bright. It knows what this weapon is. It raises its armored arm to shield its face and charges. The ground shakes with every step. It's fast for something that size. Terrifyingly fast. I rack the heavy charging handles. It takes all my strength. CL clack. I aim center mass and squeeze the butterfly trigger. Thump thump thump. The weapon bucks in my hands, a rhythmic, violent shaking that rattles my teeth. The first grenade hits the floor in front of the giant, detonating in a flash of orange fire and shrapnel. The shockwave staggers it. The second grenade hits it directly in the chest plate. The explosion is massive. The blast blows the armor plating apart, sending jagged shards of ceramic and steel flying across the hangar. The summoner is thrown backward, crashing into a stack of oil drums. I don't stop. I traverse the turret, sweeping the area. Thump thump thump. I rain high explosives onto the swarm of Phase 2 runners. Bodies fly into the air, torn apart by the blast radius. The coordination breaks. The hive mind cannot calculate for overwhelming firepower. They scatter confused, their tactical programming failing in the face of brute force. I turn the gun back to the summoner. It's trying to rise. The chest armor is gone, revealing a ribcage that has been fused with a titanium chassis. Inside, pulsing with a wet, sickening rhythm, is a black sack. The heart. Or the fuel pump. It roars at me, a sound of pure mechanical rage. Protocol denied, I grit out. I depress the trigger and hold it down. Thump 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 thump. 4 rounds impact the exposed chest cavity. The creature vanishes in a cloud of smoke and fire. Wet chunks of meat and twisted metal rain down on the concrete. The red eye flickers once in the debris, and goes dark. Silence falls over the hangar, save for the ringing in my ears and the crackle of burning oil. The remaining Phase 2 runners stop. Without the summoner, without the signal, they freeze. They look around, twitching, suddenly reverting to the base instinct of the feral infected. They lose their coordination. They lose their speed. They are just monsters again. I let go of the gun, my hands trembling uncontrollably. Adrenaline is crashing hard. I slide down into the cab of the MRAP, gasping for air. I check my gear. The rifle is empty. The shotgun is empty. I have the pistol and a few loose rounds. I can't stay here. The noise will draw everything in the mountain. I climb out of the vehicle, stepping over the shattered remains of the runners. I walk toward the remains of the summoner. I need to get to the blast door junction box, which is on the wall right behind where the giant fell. The body of the ED creature is a nightmare of biology and engineering. I try not to look too closely at the human face stretched over the steel skull. I step over the massive breaching hammer and reach the junction box. It's damaged, scorched by the explosion. Sparks shower down as I pry the cover open with my combat knife. The wiring is a mess. Come on, I mutter. Don't quit on me now. I find the manual override lever. It's jammed. I brace my foot against the wall and pull with both hands. I pull until I feel something tear in my shoulder. With a screech of protesting metal, the lever gives way. Deep within the walls, massive gears begin to turn. The maglocks disengage with a heavy thud that vibrates through the soles of my boots. Slowly, agonizingly, the massive blast doors begin to part. A sliver of light cuts through the darkness. It's not sunlight. It's moonlight. Cold, pale, beautiful moonlight. The doors slide open enough for me to slip through. The rush of air that hits me is freezing, carrying the scent of pine needles and snow. Real air. Not recycled. Not filtered. I rip the mask off my face, taking a deep, desperate gulp of the Tennessee night. I stumble out onto a concrete platform carved into the side of the cliff. I am high up. Below me, a sea of dark treetops stretches out into the valley. The wind howls, biting at my sweat-soaked skin. I turn back to look at the facility. The darkness of the tunnel mouth looks like a throat waiting to swallow the world. I survived the lab. I survived the hive. But I'm not done. I look up. Above me, clinging to the mountainside like a dormant spider, is the Comare. A massive satellite dish, rusted but intact, pointing toward the silent heavens. That's where the signal came from. That's where the answers are. And that is where I have to send the truth. Protocol Black didn't die in that cave. It's waiting to be uploaded. I checked my pistol one last time. 7 rounds. I start climbing the service ladder toward the dish. The nightmare underground is over, but the war for the truth has just begun. The rungs of the service ladder are ice cold, sucking the heat right out of my palms through the torn fabric of my gloves. Every step up is a battle against gravity and the screaming protest of my own muscles. My shoulder, the one I wrenched opening the blast door, throbs with a dull, sickening heat that pulses in time with my heartbeat. But I do not stop. To stop is to freeze or to fall, or to let whatever is climbing up the ventilation shafts behind me catch up. The wind whips around the side of the mountain, a physical force that tries to peel me off the steel structure. It howls, drowning out the ringing in my ears from the grenade launcher. Below me, the valley is a void of ink, swallowing the moonlight. I make the mistake of looking down once, seeing the faint, glowing embers of the fire I started in the hangar far below. It looks like hell opening up. I force my eyes upward. The calm array looms overhead, a massive, skeletal dish silhouetted against the indifferent stars. It looks less like technology and more like the carapace of some ancient, dead god. I reach the catwalk gantry, hauling myself over the railing and collapsing onto the grated metal floor. The air up here is thin, sharp, and brutally clean. It burns my lungs, which are still coated with the oily residue of the subterranean fight. I take a moment, just 10 seconds, to check my gear. It is a pathetic inventory. The pistol feels too light in my hand. 7 rounds. My knife is chipped, the edge dulled by scraping against Kevlar and bone. My flashlight is flickering, the battery dying, casting a weak, yellow beam that barely cuts the gloom. I am a soldier without an army, fighting a war that was lost before I was even born. I push myself up. The gantry leads to a heavy-pressure door marked U.S. Naval Communications, authorized personnel only. The paint is peeling in long, gray strips, revealing the rusted iron underneath. The decay here is different than the rot below. Down in the labs, it was wet, biological, fungal. Up here, it is dry, brittle, the slow erosion of an empire that forgot to maintain its watchtowers. I try the wheel of the door. It is frozen shut. Not locked, just fused by time and elements. I holster the pistol and grip the wheel with both hands, gritting my teeth. I pull until veins bulge in my neck, screaming silently into the wind. With a crack that sounds like a gunshot, the rust gives way. The wheel turns. I shoulder the heavy steel door open and step inside. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. The wind is cut off instantly. The air inside the comm station is stale, smelling of ozone, burnt plastic, and desiccated flesh. My footsteps on the linoleum floor echo loudly, too loudly. I sweep the room with my dying light. It is a circle of consoles, a panopticon of monitoring stations facing a central server cluster. And it is a tomb. There are bodies here, but they aren't like the ones below. These men and women didn't turn. They died at their posts. Skeletons in rotting dress blues slump over keyboards, their skulls resting on desks, fingers still intertwined with the dusty keys. Bottles of pills and sidearms sit on the consoles. They chose the exit strategy. They saw what was coming up from the labs, saw the quarantine protocols lock down the mountain, and they made the choice. It is a sobering reminder of the despair that swallowed this place. This is the legacy of the military-industrial complex, a room full of dead patriots, and a hard drive full of lies. I move to the central terminal. This is the master control. If the dish still has power, this is where I turn it on. I wipe a layer of gray dust from the screen. It's dark. I look under the desk and find the auxiliary power breaker. I flip it. Nothing happens for a terrifying second, and then, a low hum begins. It rises in pitch, a vibration I feel in my teeth. The screen flickers to life, green text scrolling across the black background. System reboot. Checking integrity. I type in the command sequence I memorized from the dossier I found 3 days ago. Access protocol black. The screen pauses. Then, a file directory opens. My heart hammers against my ribs. This is it. I open the primary log, dated 5 years ago. I need to know what I am dealing with. I need to know why the summoner had a titanium chassis. I read the text, and my blood runs cold. Protocol Black was never a virus. It wasn't a biological weapon. It was a control interface. The text is dry, clinical, horrifying. Subject integration with tactical hardware successful. Neural pathways rerouted to maximize aggression and obedience. The pathogen is merely the conduit for the nanotechnology. We are not building soldiers. We are building biological drones. I stare at the words. The infected. They aren't just sick people. They are hardware. The military tried to fuse the human nervous system with battlefield command software. The summoner wasn't a mutation, it was a prototype. A commander unit. And the swarm is the network. A sound behind me snaps me back to reality. A wet clicking sound. I spin around, raising the pistol. The beam of my flashlight sweeps across the room. Nothing. Just the dead bodies. Just the shadows. But the sound comes again. Click. Click. Hiss. It's coming from the ceiling. I look up. Suspended in a tangle of cables and ductwork above the server banks is a shape. It looks like a man, but stretched. Limbs elongated, skin gray and pulled tight over wireframe bones. It is wired into the ceiling. Thick black cables run from the junction box directly into the back of its skull. Its eyes are gone, replaced by optical sensors that glow with a faint, red light. Its mouth is open, forced wide by a speaker grill implanted in its jaw. It's a signal officer. Or what's left of one. Part of the crew that didn't commit suicide. Part of the crew that got upgraded. The creature shifts, its movements jerky, mechanical. It tilts its head, the sensors focusing on me. Unauthorized. Access, it speaks. The voice is human, but distorted, layered with static and metallic screeching. It sounds like a radio broadcast from hell. Protocol. Active. I'm shutting you down, I say, my voice steady despite the fear clutching my gut. The creature screeches, a blast of white noise that hits me like a physical blow. I stagger back, clutching my ears. It drops from the ceiling, landing on all fours with unnatural grace. It doesn't charge like a runner. It moves like a spider, scuttling over the console tables, knocking the skeletal remains of the crew to the floor. I fire. 1 shot. 2. The rounds hit it, but there is no blood. Just sparks and black fluid. It has been reinforced. Subdermal plating. It leaps, clearing a bank of monitors, closing the distance in a blur. I dive to the left, crashing into a rack of servers. The creature lands where I was standing, its clawed hands shredding the metal chair. It turns to me, the speaker in its throat emitting a high-pitched whine that blurs my vision. It's a sonic attack. It's trying to scramble my brain just like it scrambles a radio frequency. I can't shoot it. I don't have enough ammo to penetrate that plating. I need to disconnect it. I look at the cables trailing from its head. They are thick, shielded, pulsing with data. It's tethered to the room. It draws power from the facility. The creature lunges again. I scramble back, kicking out at it. My boot connects with its faceplate, cracking the sensor. It reels back, thrashing, the noise shifting to a confused warble. I scramble to my feet and run for the power junction on the wall. The creature anticipates me. It leaps onto the wall, blocking my path to the breaker. It swipes at me, long, metallic fingers tearing through my jacket, slicing shallow lines into my chest. I yell in pain and stumble back. It looms over me, ready to deliver the killing strike. I look around frantically. My hand closes around a heavy fire extinguisher mounted on the server rack. Protocol this, I snarl. I swing the extinguisher with everything I have left. It slams into the side of the creature's head, right where the cables enter the skull. There is a crunch of bone and plastic. The creature shrieks, a sound of pure digital agony. I swing again. And again. Beating the machine out of the man. The casing cracks. Sparks shower the room. The creature collapses, twitching violently. The red light in its sensors flickers and dies. The speaker emits a final, dying static hiss, and then silence returns. I drop the extinguisher, gasping for air, chest heaving. Blood is soaking my shirt. My vision is swimming. I check the body. The cables are severed. It's dead. I limp back to the main console. The screen is still waiting. Upload data? I reach into my pocket and pull out the hardened drive I took from the lab below. It contains everything. The schematics, the logs, the proof that the end of the world was a line item in a black budget. I jam the drive into the port. Initiating uplink. Aligning dish. The room vibrates as the massive hydraulics outside begin to turn the dish. I can hear the gears grinding, shaking off years of rust. Estimated time to transmission, 4 minutes. 4 minutes. It feels like a lifetime. I slide down the side of the console, sitting on the floor, gun in my lap. I watch the progress bar crawl across the screen. 10%. 15%. Then I hear it. Not inside the room. Outside. A clamor against the heavy steel door I entered through. The thud of bodies hitting metal. Scratches. Screams. The noise of the dish moving. The sonic shriek of the signal officer. It acted like a dinner bell. I drag myself up. I look at the security monitors. The camera feed from the gantry outside is grainy, but clear enough. They are swarming up the ladder. Dozens of them. Runners. Crawlers. And something else. Something large, pulling itself up the side of the cliff, ignoring the ladder entirely. The door hinges groan. The wheel begins to turn. They are learning. I check the magazine. 5 rounds left. Come on, I whisper to the progress bar. Move. 25%. I move a heavy desk in front of the door, jamming it against the handle. It won't hold them forever, but it might buy me a minute. I grab a flare from the emergency kit on the wall. I crack it, bathing the room in harsh red light. I am not dying in the dark. The first dent appears in the steel door. Metal screams as something incredibly strong hits it from the other side. I stand my ground in the center of the room, guarding the upload. The truth is going out tonight. Even if I don't get to see who receives it. The percentage counter moves with agonizing slowness. 26. 27. The numbers blink in a harsh, monochrome green that illuminates the sweat dripping from my nose. The room smells of ozone, copper, and the distinct, cloying scent of ancient, recirculated air that has tasted too much death. Outside that steel door, the pounding rhythm changes. It's not just the frantic scratching of the runners anymore. It's a rhythmic, heavy thudding. Like a sledgehammer meeting an anvil. Boom. 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 The heavy desk I jammed against the handle shudders with each impact, inching backward across the linoleum floor, scraping a jagged white line into the tiles. I scramble over the signal officer's corpse, patting down the tactical vest fused to its rotting chest. My fingers brush against slick, synthetic skin and cold metal ports. I find a spare magazine, but it's the wrong caliber. Useless. I dig deeper into the pouches, ignoring the revulsion as the body shifts with a wet squelch. A flashbang. A combat knife. And a jagged piece of plastic, a keycard, smeared with black oil. I pocket them. I need everything. I check the monitor again. 35%. The dish above me is still groaning, the hydraulics fighting decades of calcification to align with a satellite that might not even be there anymore. If the grid is down, if the constellations have gone dark, I'm broadcasting to ghosts. But I have to believe someone is listening. I turn my attention to the scrolling text adjacent to the upload bar. I need to know what I'm dying for. The files are decrypting on the fly, flashing headers that turn my blood into ice water. Protocol Black wasn't a containment failure. It wasn't a leak. The logs date back 3 years before the first public outbreak. The text describes Project Necrocybernetics. The goal wasn't just a super soldier, it was a soldier that could operate post-mortem. The brass wanted infantry that didn't need medical evac. They wanted units that would keep fighting after their hearts stopped. They injected a biosynthetic sludge into the spinal columns of volunteers, special forces, Navy SEALs, the best of the best. The sludge was supposed to bridge the gap between nervous system and machine, creating a remote-controlled warrior. But the sludge mutated. It didn't just animate the dead, it networked them. It created a hive aggression. The infected aren't mindless zombies. They are a failed military network trying to expand its bandwidth by forcibly uploading civilians into the collective. That's why the signal officer had a speaker in his throat. He wasn't just a monster, he was a router. A repeater tower for the Horde. And I just took their localized internet offline. That explains the coordination outside. They aren't just hungry, they've been ordered to silence the interruption. 45%. The steel door groans, the metal warping inward. A bolt shears off, pinging across the room like a bullet, shattering a glass display case full of circuit boards. Through the widening gap in the frame, I see them. Pale, twitching faces. Eyes that glow with a faint, bioluminescent circuitry in the dark. They aren't screaming. They are hissing in unison, a sound like leaking steam. Then, a massive, armored gauntlet punches through the steel. It's the large one. The monitor caught it on the gantry, but the reality is terrifying. It grabs the edge of the tear in the door, and peels the steel back like it's wet cardboard. It steps into the room, snapping the heavy desk in half with its waist. It's a deep-sea atmospheric diving suit, a Mark V hardsuit modified. The brass helmet is fused to the shoulders, the viewing port glowing with that same sickly red light. The suit is encrusted with subterranean barnacles and cave moss. But inside the suit, the meat has expanded. Flesh bulges from the joints of the armor. One arm has been replaced entirely by a hydraulic excavation claw, dripping with grease and gore. Target. Acquisition, the suit booms. The voice is amplified, booming from external speakers mounted on the bulky carapace. It's not the distorted radio voice of the signal officer. This is the facility's security AI speaking through the corpse inside the suit. It's a breacher. A riot control unit gone wrong. I raise my weapon, aiming for the glass faceplate. Target acquired right here, you ugly bastard. I squeeze the trigger. The shots spark harmlessly off the brass helmet. The breacher doesn't even flinch. It raises the hydraulic claw and smashes a row of server racks, sending sparks showering down like fireworks. The room plunges into a strobe light nightmare of red emergency flares and arcing electricity. The runners pour in around the breacher's legs, moving low and fast. I pull the pin on the flash bang and roll it across the floor. It detonates with a concussive thump that rattles my teeth. The runners shriek, clutching their eyes, disoriented by the overload. But the breacher doesn't have eyes. It has sensors. It stomps forward, the floor plates buckling under its weight. I sprint to the right, sliding over the console table just as the hydraulic claw comes down, pulverizing the terminal I was just standing at. Shards of plastic and silicon fly into my face. I check the main screen. The upload is at 60%. The primary terminal is still intact, but the breacher is tearing the room apart to find me. I need to distract it. I need to hurt it. I look at the fire suppression system overhead. Pipes running thick with halon gas. If I can rupture them, I might freeze the runners or choke out the biological components of the big guy. But I need height. I scramble up the side of the mainframe supercomputer, my boots slipping on the sleek metal. The breacher turns, the servos in its suit whining. It tracks me. The arm cannon, it has an arm cannon, spins up. A rivet gun modified for lethal velocity. Thwack. 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 Heavy steel bolts slam into the computer casing inches from my head. I lunge for the pipe, grabbing it with one hand, swinging my body weight. The pipe groans but holds. I pull the combat knife from my pocket and stab wildly at the valve joint. It's rusted tight. The breacher is right below me now, reaching up with that crushing claw. Upload. Interrupted, it booms. Not today! I scream. I jam the knife into the joint and kick the handle with my heel. The metal shears. A blast of freezing white gas erupts from the pipe, instantly filling the upper half of the room. The temperature plummets. I drop to the floor, coughing, the cold burning my lungs. The gas hits the breacher. The biological parts, the bulging flesh at the joints, recoil instantly. The meat turns black and brittle. The machine parts seize up as the lubricants freeze. The runners caught in the cloud drop mid-step, their limbs shattering like glass when they hit the floor. The breacher roars, a sound of grinding gears and dying man. It swings blindly, smashing the walls, but it's slowing down. The frost is caking over its sensors. I scramble on my hands and knees back to the main console, keeping low to avoid the gas. 75%. A runner, half frozen, lunges at me from the darkness. Its jaw is missing, hanging by a thread of skin. I kick it away, my boot crushing its brittle ribcage. I stand up, checking the magazine. Empty. I toss the gun. It's hand-to-hand now. I grab the heavy fire axe from the emergency casing on the wall, the only thing I haven't used yet. The breacher has shaken off the worst of the freeze. Its internal heaters are kicking in, steam rising from the armor. It locks onto me again. It charges, a lumbering tank of unstoppable force. There is nowhere to run. I am backed against the upload terminal. Come on, I beg the screen. 85%. The breacher raises the claw. I brace myself, holding the axe. I can't kill it. I just need to jam it. As the claw descends, I don't dodge away. I dodge in. I slide between its legs, the smell of rotting ocean overwhelming me. I swing the axe upward, aiming for the back of the knee joint where the armor is thinnest, where the hydraulic hoses are exposed. The blade bites deep. Oil and black blood spray in a high-pressure jet. The leg buckles. The massive suit loses its balance, crashing forward into the console bank to my left. The impact shakes the mountain. Monitors explode. The breacher flails, trying to rise, but the hydraulics in its leg are severed. It's grounded. But it's not out. It starts crawling toward me, dragging its dead weight, the rivet gun spinning up again. I look at the screen. 95%. I look at the breacher. I look at the pile of dead runners blocking the exit. I look at my own hands, shaking, covered in grime and blood that isn't mine. The air is running out. The halon gas is displacing the oxygen. My vision is tunneling. 98. The rivet gun fires. A bolt catches me in the shoulder. The pain is blinding, white-hot and immediate. I spin around, slamming into the console. I slide down to the floor, clutching the wound. I can't lift my arm. I can't lift the axe. The breacher drags itself closer. It reaches out with its human hand, the one not replaced by a claw. It grabs my ankle. Its grip is like a vice. It drags me toward it. I kick at its faceplate, my boots slipping on the wet brass. Protocol. Enforced, it gurgles. Then a chime. Clear and loud, cutting through the chaos. Upload complete. Transmission verified. The screen flashes green. Satellite uplink successful. Global broadcast initiated. I laugh. It's a wet, hacking sound. Protocol, overridden, I wheeze. The terminal beeps again. A new message appears. Contamination detected in secure facility. Initiating sterilization protocol, gamma purge. The red emergency lights in the room turn off. They are replaced by a blinding, stark white light from panels in the ceiling. Warning sirens begin to wail. Not the klaxons of an intruder, but the mournful, steady tone of a nuclear reactor warning. The breacher stops. The sensors on its helmet spin wildly. Hazard. Hazard. It stammers, releasing my ankle. The hive mind knows what this siren means. The runners at the door turn and flee, scrambling over each other to get back down the ladder. Even the breacher tries to turn, clawing at the floor to drag itself away from the core. They are afraid. I look at the countdown on the screen. 10 seconds. Gamma radiation flood. High intensity. Enough to cook organic matter in seconds. Enough to scrub the DNA from the walls. I can't outrun it. I can't make it to the surface. But I see a hatch. Under the main console. A maintenance crawl space. Heavy lead lining. It's small. Claustrophobic. Designed for shielding sensitive electronics, not people. I roll. I ignore the agony in my shoulder. I kick the hatch open. It's tight. I shove my legs in, wiggling into the dark, cramped box. 5 seconds. The breacher screams as the emitters charge up. I pull the lead hatch shut above me. I lock it. Darkness. Then, a sensation of heat so intense I can feel it through the metal. A hum that vibrates my very bones. Outside the box, I hear the wet, popping sounds of the infected literally boiling in their armor. The screeching of the breacher is cut short. Then silence. I lie there in the dark, curled in a ball, clutching my bleeding shoulder. The air is stale, but breathable. The radiation scrub is happening outside. I am trapped in a box beneath a mountain, surrounded by the dead. But on the small wrist-mounted display I took from the signal officer, I see a signal bar. The broadcast is looping. Every frequency. Every channel. The schematics. The videos. The proof. My radio crackles. For the first time in months, it's not static. It's not the infected. This is Station 4. Hearing you loud and clear. Is anyone? Hello? A voice. A human voice. Shaky, terrified, but human. I close my eyes, listening to the voice in the dark. I can't answer them yet. The radiation needs to dissipate. It might take hours. It might take days. But I have the flashbangs. I have the knife. And I have the truth. The Tennessee caves didn't kill me. The Navy didn't kill me. And Protocol Black is dead. I rest my head against the cold metal. The nightmare isn't over, but for the first time, I'm not just surviving. I'm winning.